Thank you for that introduction. Well, I just flew in on that teeny tiny little plane, so my nerves are a little bit shot from that, but I'm very happy to be here. I'm from Saskatoon. I work at Kelsey campus, as Bill said, as a marketing and communications consultant there. So a little bit more about me. I am a SIAST grad. I actually graduated from there in 2005. Kind of did the reverse of what a lot of people do. Instead of moving to the big city to go to school, like I'm from Saskatoon, I moved to Moose Jaw and I took their 2-year marketing diploma there. And it was a fantastic experience. So currently I work as a marketing and communications consultant at SIAST. And recently I completed a master's certificate in internet marketing just through distance from the University of San Francisco. And that's my little baby. She's 13 months old. Changed my whole life. So now we'll get into things here. So today we're going to sort of go through, I'm going to start with telling you a little bit about our audience. It's really important to know who you're marketing to. So I'm going to take you through that. Then I'm going to tell you, I'm going to give you some examples of practical things that we've done that we've been successful with at SIAST in engaging our audience through technology. And then I'm going to wrap things up. There'll be time for questions. I'll also be here till about 3 if you want to just approach me after. But I really hope that you'll be able to take away some things from today to your own organizations and businesses. Okay, so we'll start with our audience. Now this comes directly from our department marketing plan. So the primary target at SIAST is individuals looking to enter post-secondary education. Demographics include high school students, university students, and the general public age 18 to 29 years. It's also important to keep in mind who your secondary audiences are. And that for us is the secondary target is parents of the primary target audience. An additional target is Aboriginal people living in Saskatchewan. Other audiences may include mature, potential students looking to retrain, influencers of high school students such as teachers and guidance counselors, corporate stakeholders, and industry professionals. It's basically everybody that has a pulse. Okay, now I'm going to tell you just a little bit more about who we're marketing to, which is Gen Y. This is our primary target market. So I'll start off by talking a little bit about word-of-mouth marketing. Word-of-mouth marketing still ranks at the top, even among Gen Yers. A study done by a company called Satel found that 44.3% of Gen Yers make decisions based on word-of-mouth. Word-of-mouth is relevant and now has more power than it ever did because of how quickly and efficiently people are able to reach out on their social networks. I, for example, use Facebook. If I need something as simple as a plumber, if I'm looking for a catering recommendation, basically I look for advice from people I trust. I'm not just going and Googling or looking in Yellow Pages. I'm looking to my peers for their advice. The second point that's important here is engagement. Gen Y is very much the digital demographic, and for good reason. They grew up online. I'd like to say we grew up online, but I'm like 1 year short of being in Gen Y. Identifying where our students spend most of their time online and how to engage them on those sites is essential. I will get into the engagement part in a few slides with some specific examples of what we've done. Social media is a very obvious player, but we can't forget about our website. In a recent survey we did, it revealed that 82% of our students go straight to our website for information. So this means that the program brochures that their boomer instructors keep hounding me for just aren't going to cut it. It is essential for our website to be accurate, full of information, and constantly changing. The third point that I'm going to talk about here is oversaturation. The internet is noisy, and we don't want to contribute to that noise. Keep up the noise, and we know we will get unliked, which is a horrible thing. You don't want to be unliked. We do not want to be seen as a business that is annoying or excessive with our postings. We figure out how to get our message across in a way that doesn't look like an ad. One thing we'll do to balance out the information we are pushing is to start discussions on our page. We look to our Facebook fans for advice and opinions on various topics and try to engage them that way. The last point here is respect. Our students, or in your case, customers, are the best critics, and paying attention to them and their opinions is vital. If we are in doubt or looking for information, we go straight to our students for help. We run focus groups, send out surveys, and try to get their input for decision making in our marketing. So now that you know a little bit more about who we're talking to, we'll get into the examples here in a couple slides. Just going to give you a bit of brief information about our SIAST Facebook page. So currently we're just sitting over 4,000 likes, which is, I think, on par with the U of R. We're about 2,000 behind the U of S. Friends of fans. This is an interesting number. So this is the number of unique people. I have to read this because it's really confusing. The number of unique people who are friends with people who liked our page. So we have the potential of reaching just under 1 million people because of the number of fans that we have. This number, weekly total reach, I just pulled that from last week. That includes the number of unique people who have seen any content that is related to SIAST. So that could have been somebody that was sharing a photo that we put up, or could have been some of our advertising, but that sort of encompasses everybody that saw our page last week. So we use Facebook. We still do some advertising on Facebook. We have started doing promoted posts. We are constantly doing regular status updates. We put photos up all the time, and we're running contests to reach our fans. So engaging with our audience. These are the 3 examples I'm going to talk to you about today. They're all Facebook-based examples. First one is the Labor Day Classic. Second one is called When I Grow Up contest. And then the third one is an application I actually developed called the Melonhead app. So the Labor Day Classic. SIAST entered into a sponsorship with the riders a few years ago, and one of the benefits we received was the opportunity to sample at a game. We've never really done anything like this, so it was, we were kind of stepping out of our box, but we thought it was a great opportunity and it was time that we try something new. So we decided that we were going to set up a photo booth at their practice field and encourage people to come to our photo booth using a SIAST branded promo item. And then after this, we were going to put all the photos up and run a photo taking contest so that we could sort of continue the experience online. We hired Captive Audience, who specialize in experiential marketing, to help us execute our idea. Their staff handed out SIAST branded hand clackers and encouraged people to come to the photo booth and get their picture taken. They were given a chance to win a flip cam if they came and got their picture taken. So Captive staff were given key messages to deliver when they handed out the promo item. These included things like the fact that we have affordable tuition, We have more than 150 programs. We have short timelines, small class sizes. So they were able to sort of package that in a nice way and deliver those messages for us. So we just went out to a local shop and got a bunch of, fun props that people could put on. We had a wide variety of people come to the booth. We had children, teenagers, adults. We set up, we had a table set up so that everyone would sign consent forms and so that we could collect their email addresses. The table was staffed by SIAST members so that we could answer any questions that these people might have about SIAST. So the morning after the game, we created a Facebook album with all the pictures and sent an email to those who had their picture taken, letting them know that the album was up and it was time to start tagging. We left the contest open for a week and then we randomly drew a winner. So the results. Our promotional team had 4,000 interactions with people at the game. We distributed 2,500 promo items. We took 200 photos. And then when the photos went up and people tagged themselves, we were exposed to all their networks. And one thing that was sort of intangible was this memorable, unique experience that we created with people. Okay, now the next example I'm going to talk to you about is a contest that we ran called When I Grow Up. Contests have become very popular on Facebook. This is a great way to build your audience and to interact more with your current audience. So for this particular contest, we used a self-serve application called Wildfire to create the contest, and we actually designed it ourselves. It was only $500 to get this up and running, which is very affordable for a small business, because when you look, we've hired captive in the past to do different things, but as a small business it would be very challenging to hire an agency to design a contest for you. So there are applications that you can use out there that are very user-friendly. So this contest ran for a month. Entrants were required to be from Saskatchewan, Manitoba, or Alberta, and they needed to be between the ages of 14 and 45 at the time of entry. Entrants were asked to provide a photo of themselves during childhood and fill out the photo title stating future, in this case, dream analyst. So they filled in this blank with a job that they aspired to or something that seemed funny or interesting. So 10 finalists were chosen based on the submissions that received the most votes. Each time someone voted, that got published in the voters' Facebook newsfeed so that all their friends saw information about the contest and about SIAST business programs. The viral nature of commenting, liking, and sharing drew more attention to our contest. We also drew traffic through advertising that was already going on with their division. So that was through the direct mail piece that was already going out, print ads. We added in some Google AdWords, just some Facebook status updates on our Facebook page. We sent out posters to high schools and related educational institutions. And then we sent out an email to students and high school counselors. So we developed, this sort of strategy to execute this contest sort of in conjunction with a campaign that was already taking place. We gave out the prize for the winner was SIAST tuition credits. And we also gave out 2 iPads. So setting up the prize as tuition credits for a business program ensured that this money was going to be spent on qualified leads or prospective students. We were not going to get any entries from people who weren't interested in going to SIAST. These numbers aren't like mind-blowing, but it was really successful because we were focusing on getting qualified people to enter this contest. The business division was also able to follow up with everyone who submitted to this contest because they were required to give us their information. So for an investment of $500, 2 iPads, and basically an in-kind prize of tuition, and the strategic thinking of including all this in their campaign materials, the business division was able to run a very cost-effective promotion. Too bad they lost, hey? Okay, so this is my last example. This is the Melonhead app. And another part of our sponsorship with agreement with the Rough Riders, there was kind of an open-ended asset that we received, and that was the opportunity to use their logo as long as their marketing department approved this. So I remember that winter I'd seen some examples. I think the Winter Olympics was running at that time, and Molson Canadian had created this application where users were able to put up a Canadian hockey jersey and put their own last name on the back of it, and then they would display as their profile picture to support the Canadian hockey team. I noticed a lot of my friends had participated in this, so I thought, maybe there was an opportunity for us to do something similar with the Riders, since we had this opportunity to use their logo. The Melonhead is something that is very unique to Saskatchewan Rider fans, so I thought, why not create an online version of this? People always refer to the Sea of Green at games, and since everyone can't be there, I thought, why not create an online Sea of Green? So I started working with captive audience again, and shortly we had the Melonhead app ready to go. So at first the start was a little bit slow, but all of a sudden things sort of exploded and we knew we were onto something. One thing I should point out is that they did really well that year. They made it to the Grey Cup, so I think that also had something to do with our success. But here's the results. In 2010, we had nearly 13,000 people install the app on their Facebook page. We were covered like all over the province in Saskatchewan from every news outlet. We also ended up receiving national media coverage. We were on the front page, I think it was the Edmonton Sun, the morning after the Grey Cup. And then another important thing is that our Facebook audience doubled over the course of the season. Okay, so just to sort of wrap things up here, know your audience. Maybe Facebook doesn't work for your audience. Maybe Twitter doesn't work for your audience. For something that I saw recently, I try to think of how social media works for a home builder. Maybe Twitter doesn't work as well for a home builder, but maybe Facebook works really well, and maybe Pinterest works very well. So know who it is you're trying to reach, and that will help you develop a plan to reach them. So that's the next point here, is to develop a plan. We were successful with all of these things because we had a solid plan. Not to say that there wasn't room for flexibility in that plan, but we had a plan, and we definitely had some goals that we wanted to reach. So the third point just sort of goes back to what I was saying about the home builder. Find out what platforms make sense for you. Just because everyone's on Facebook and Twitter, it doesn't, if you don't have the resources to spend a whole lot of time on social media, just try to do a few things and do them really well. This is the fourth point here, you don't always have to hire the experts. Everything is so user-friendly. Now that, you know, as long as you're willing and you're patient and you're okay with, you know, with things taking a little bit longer, you can definitely do something like we did for the business contest and develop your own contest. Don't be afraid to fail. I thought the Melonhead app idea was a stupid idea that was going to fail, and it didn't. So take risks. And then the last point here is invest in social media. Just start. You know, it's done a lot for us. It works with our target audience, but it's definitely something that you should invest in. So that's it for me. Does anybody have any questions?
One for me, Jess.
Okay.
Could you also use the traditional media as well? Can you comment a bit about that?
Yeah, definitely. So this is all integrated with all of the traditional stuff that we do. So we're still running campaigns where you know, we're sending out direct mail pieces, and we're doing, you know, some print advertising, doing a lot of billboards. So this is just sort of one piece that's you know, a little bit bigger, so it needs to have its own plan, but it definitely fits in with our overall strategy. Yes, back.
In your Facebook interaction photos there, you mentioned that you had over 200 photos and 4,000 interactions. How many tags did you get from that?
You know, oh, Facebook, like people who actually tag themselves?
That's right.
I'm not sure. And actually, things have come along so far in Facebook. Like that contest, I believe, was from 2011. And when I went back to look for certain data, like for example, I can't remember, just you're able to get so many more numbers now in seeing, like, you can actually see how many people have seen anything you've posted, whereas when we did that, we weren't able to see. So we know that it did have that viral effect of spreading across people's networks, but the numbers just weren't there at that time.
How have you balanced borrowing ideas and then making them your own? Because you kind of touched on the rider one, as you got it from Molson and stuff like that. So. And kind of looking at innovative at the same time, but kind of using stuff.
I think just being honest. You know, I think just being honest and saying, because, you know, any sort of idea I've probably ever thought of that's good, somebody else has thought of it. So I think just being honest and saying, you know, they did this really cool app, and we thought, why not try to do something similar that fits with the riders? Did you have a question or no? Okay.
I do have a question.
Okay.
I love the cheeky SIAST marketing campaign last year where you were congratulating U of R graduates and telling them see you in fall and stuff like that.
Yes.
Why did you stop that?
Did everyone see that ad?
It worked. I'm SIAST grad and U of R, and it worked. We really got people's attention. I don't know, just in case everybody didn't, in case you didn't see it, we ran a campaign last year, our spring campaign, and one of the billboards that we used said, congrats on your BA, see you this fall. So I don't have like the best job title to sort of officially speak to that, but you know, it wasn't an ad that was a mean-spirited ad. Yeah, it was intended to get people's attention, and that's what it did. Some people loved it, and some people didn't like it at all. Another ad that we ran at the same time said, don't like lectures, and in the bottom it said, neither do we. And it was sort of along the same lines, just sort of defining that, you know, we are, like the university, they're great at what they do, and what they do is very different than what we do. We provide hands-on learning. So, yeah, we're tossing around ideas for the spring right now. So. I don't think it'll be that one again. Well, actually, I'll tell you what we're tossing around right now. The top line says, we're not colorblind, and then it says, we train white, blue, and everything in between. So that's sort of meaning to talk about all of the different sectors that we touch. So, yeah. Well, maybe I'll wrap up just so that I don't cut into Mark's time here. But it's awesome to be in Regina today. I'm going to be here till 3, so if you guys have any questions, feel free to come ask.
Hello. When I was first asked to do this, I was a little nervous about it. It's actually rather difficult to be a futurist. I'm not using any slides, and I'll explain why I'm not using any slides at the end. Before I start too much, I wanted to say that Zoltan and Tess actually covered a lot of what I want to talk about. But they've covered it from a different angle. I don't work in media, I'm not a salesman, I'm a technologist. And one of the things about technology is it's always been used as a form of leverage in communication. When we first started out as small groups, tribes, you had the town crier who would go out and tell everybody the news, what's going on, who's the chief, all the politics. Well, then we came out with this technology called literacy. We had posters, we had billboards, people could read. Then we came up with radio and television, which brought it into your homes. People would actually, the town crier moved into your living room or your kitchen, that's where I listen to the radio, even your car. Now, what all these technologies, these changes have had in common, though, is that slowly you're filtering out groups. If you couldn't read, those billboards meant nothing. If you didn't have a TV, it's not very useful. When ads became color, the same thing happened. If you had a black and white TV, those ads that had the brilliant colors meant nothing. Well, the next step in the evolution is these. No longer is it limited to the town square, to the billboards you see, to your living room. It's everywhere. It's with you wherever you go. I've even seen here today, I've heard them ring, I've seen people checking. It's normal, it's the way it's become. So technology is a leveraging force. But this doesn't mean that mass media doesn't work anymore. It's just that it's reshaped the landscape a little bit, not completely. It's important to realize that new technologies don't always supplement the old. People are still using pens and paper, are still writing things down. Not everybody's taking things down on their tablet PC today. And that is a healthy form of technology. You can actually still send a telegram if you choose to. The technology isn't gone, we still use them. Which is why partially in this talk I don't want to get brand specific. I talk to my students all the time, and they say, well, which is best? Well, the best technology is the one you know how to use and you're comfortable with. That is the best technology. The platforms are going to change, but they do have a tendency of reaching convergence. Once again, talking about cell phones, you used to not have video, now you do have video. Some videos wouldn't play on the earlier cell phones, and now more and more, it just plays. It's what you see is what you get, is what they call it in the technology business. But the question you have to consider is what platform is your audience using? And I'll use myself as an example again. I don't like having a cell phone. My partner insists I have one, so I do. But I spent 20 years in the military. I had to be available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And I just really don't want to do that anymore, but I have one. But I have the lowest model, no high definition screens. It's a complete waste to me. So if that is your modeling target, that we're going to use a splashy ad that people will get to see on their cell phones, I'm not in your audience. Which is okay. It's not necessarily a negative. It's just technology is your target in many cases. So before you start a campaign, survey your users. Talk to your users. There's lots of ways of gathering this information. Later on, I'll be giving you an example of a couple of businesses, just theoretical, science fiction portion of the talk, where we ask ourselves, what is our audience using? And you can do this simply by walking around one night, check mark, you got this, you got this, you got that, and just take a rough survey. And what I'm talking about here is that it's not mass media anymore. And this is part of the key of the social part of networking. The mass media portion has become limited to the one person you're talking to at a time, the single person you're looking at, who you're staring at. Who are you liking or not liking is what the social media is about. But moving to a technology side of the question, all this media depends on the platform, the hardware. Most of you, anybody here ever heard of Moore's Law? Okay, Moore's Law states that the processing power of microchips is going to double about every 18 months. This applies well to hardware. Hardware is doubling in power about every 18 months. You may see it when you buy hard drives. It used to be 80 gigs was good, 160, up, terabyte drives now. And this is the way technology is working at the hardware level. But Moore's Law does not apply to software or to the laws of physics. Now when I talk about the laws of physics, I want to talk about something called bandwidth. Bandwidth is what we use with our mobile devices. It's the radio waves. Those radio waves are getting more and more cramped, more and more filled. There's less room. It's one of the reasons you got to hear about the television stations have now gone from analog to digital. Radio stations are going to be making the change relatively soon too. In the United States, they're auctioning off different parts of the spectrum because we're running out of bandwidth. Bandwidth is what carries all these images, texts, phone calls, all this stuff on your mobile devices. If you want to use these mobile devices, we have to find a way of reducing the amount of bandwidth. And that is a technology question. Now, this comes important in my later examples. I just wanted to bring up the bandwidth. So we've talked about two parties. We've talked about hardware, and we've talked about the ISP providers who provide bandwidth. Now I want to talk about applications. Applications and software is not following Moore's Law. It's not becoming more efficient every 18 months. It's not even close. Software actually lags behind. Creating the software isn't as easy as creating the hardware, in a sense, because software is an art, and the art depends on what hardware is out there. This isn't saying it's not possible to do wonderful things, just like there's 26 letters in the alphabet, 7 notes of musical scores. You can combine these things to make just about anything you want. But figuring out how to combine those are the complicated issue. When we talk about apps, thousands of apps are made every day. Some are free, some are charged, some survive, some don't. And it's not necessarily because an app is better or worse than another. Sometimes they're a hit, sometimes they're not a hit. Why did it go from beta to VHS when beta was a better standard? Marketing. Stuff happens. So the idea of a killer app is a bit of a misnomer. But it is something you have to look at. What is the market already using for your advertising, for your ideas? Part of applications is analytics, and we've touched on that a little bit. Analytics is actually one of the bigger driving forces that we don't see behind all this technology. Analytics is data mining, gathering information, figuring out who your customer is. And this links back to the social networking. The whole concept of social networking is personal. Your technology says a lot about who you are and what you do. This is a reason there's $1 billion greeting card industry. It's personal. Yes, you've got the greeting card that they've printed off 100,000 copies of, spread it around North America, but that little note, that signature changes everything. Suddenly it's personal. Suddenly it's touching. It's not mass media anymore. Now, the difficulty with analytics is that the individual is not completely in charge. I didn't want to be brand specific, but we've talked about Facebook already today. I have a Facebook page. It's not my real name, but I have a Facebook page. And when I look at it, the ads on the side have nothing to do with me, and it's kind of creepy. Why is that? It's because their analytics looked at my friends, the people I contacted, which were people I knew 20 years ago, and I just decided to get in touch again. but it looks at them and it says, this is what you should be interested in, but I'm not. So the analytics are failing. Another difficulty with technology is that users are not always completely aware. You may have recently seen in the media, they talked about there was a fast food place in the United States where the employees stood in the salad and took pictures and posted and said, ha ha ha, this is fun. But they didn't realize that people were a little smarter than them. They took these same pictures, they analyzed the data because it has GPS information, found out where they were, and they got fired. Well, somebody knew a little bit more about technology than they did. But it could have gone either way. Instead of firing the employees, the people who looked up the GPS data could have just posted and said, hey, don't eat at this restaurant. This is what the employees do. There is dangers in technology and these analytics. There's also great possibilities. Outside of the business world, there's a platform called Ushandi Crowdsourcing, which has been used to monitor elections, to help in disaster relief. And what it is a simple platform that was built in less than 24 hours by programmers. And the idea simply was to help people during a disaster, to be able to find out where aid stations were, loved ones were, where there was rioting, where there was violence happening, and you could text in a location, you could go online to put in a location, you could phone in information, and it made a live map. Very practical, very useful. And this was a form of social media because it was crowdsourcing. More commercial is something called Foursquare. Foursquare is a form of crowdsourcing where you tag your geographical location, where you're in, the restaurant, and people get to see, oh, well, there's a good party here, I think I'll go there, this is interesting, I think I'll visit my friends. This technology already exists. But again, technology can be quickly co-opted. Foursquare was co-opted by a group that posted a similar site that took data from Foursquare called Just Rob Me. And what this site was about was saying if you're going to give away your location online in live time, what you're saying is, I'm not home. So when you're not home, people can go to your house and rob you, which is why the site was called Just Rob You, taking data from the Foursquare site. Again, this is digital vigilantism of a certain form, but it is just trying to make people more aware. Okay, so far I've just talked about the recent past and the current state of affairs. Our hardware is getting smaller and faster, but it's going to be limited by bandwidth. There's nothing we can do dramatically to change that. Bandwidth is what bandwidth is. But there are some things we can do with current technology. There's something called a personal area network, a PAN, which is about, let's go 3 to 15 meters. We cover this room easily using high-frequency radio waves. Now, with a personal area network, what it means is we can communicate a short distance, dump a lot of data. This would alleviate the simple problem of saying, I want to check something online, I'll use all the bandwidth, connect to a cell tower, which is eating up bandwidth, and just connect to an access point. Bet you dollars to donuts, that little blue light on the top there is a wireless access point right there. Now that's Wi-Fi. PAN is a little bit more complicated. And the idea behind a PAN, personal area network, is you would have PAN hotspots, where you would walk into a room and it would read what you have and say, oh, well, you have an email pending, why don't we send it now? Instead of sending it out over the big system, let's send it over the small system. That's wired into the SIAST, fiber optics, beautiful, it's done. This is a way of saving bandwidth. What would encourage you to have a personal area network connection in your business? Well, it's also a chance to do some data mining. Because what we could do is add into the PAN is, has anybody here heard of RFID? Radio frequency identifiers. Very small microchips, and none of what I've talked about doesn't exist yet. It's already here. Radio frequency identifiers. They're very small tags, has 128-bit, 256-bit of information on it. That's a ton of information in the IT world. And what you can do is put these little chips and stuff, and they can be read when you walk through a wall walk through a door or a reader or over a sensor. Now, part of these chips is, this was a gift from my girlfriend. It's a very nice watch. It's a real watch. You can put a tag in this to avoid counterfeiting, because you could buy these fake, and she gave me a real one, very kind of her. And you could read that when I walk into your business. Ooh, he owns a nice watch. There could also be an RFID tag in my shoes, tells you they're kind of cheap shoes. When I registered this watch online with the manufacturer, which is required for authentication purposes, this is a bit of a futurist thing, it ties that to saying, yes, this is a real watch, it's not a fake watch. Your database now goes, well, he has a girl who bought him a nice watch, but he wears cheap shoes. It tells you something about me as a customer. And we could embed these chips into all kinds of things. They already embedded them in milk cartons. The idea is to put them in libraries. So instead of going through the shelves, you just go through the wand and you know everything that's there, stock keeping. As things move out into your store, you know exactly what's there. This is here now, but it's starting to spread. So link this RFID tag to something called Internet Protocol version 6. Most people are used to Internet Protocol version 4. They use this as home. This is how you connect to the Internet. Well, we're running out of IP addresses. This has been in the news recently. Internet Protocol version 6 has a lot more space and a lot more information. It has personal information. When you buy your electronic device, your tablet, PC, or your computer, it has something called a MAC address. It's a unique address that is linked to that machine. When you register it online, that MAC address is now part of your IP version 6 address, wherever you go in the world. So that's giving you a location and who owns this device. Yes, your brother may borrow your device, your sister, your daughter, or somebody else may take the device and use it, but it's still linked to you. So what that device is used for, the websites you go to, the social networking sites you visit, is suddenly collecting more analytics. And this is where I get to, again, that the social networking revolution is going to be personal, because the data is out there, so we know who we're talking to. So let me try a little bit of a science fiction scenario on you. This is my vision of the future. I'm not psychic, I'm just basing this on my own views and things I've looked at in technology. Let's imagine downtown Regina in 2025. 2025 sounds good. Miranda is working late on a Friday. It was in November when she got in. It was a nice warm day. Seems to have gotten a little chilly out. She doesn't want to go straight home. She wants to go out with some friends after work. Well, but she doesn't want to go out with coworkers because she's been with coworkers all day and they're all kind of irritating. I think we can agree. So she goes to one of her geolocation sites that she commonly visits. She says, I want to go out with friends but not coworkers. So it gives her a map of the city of all her friends that have walked into various places that have RFID tagged them for being there, and says, oh, my friends are over here, my coworkers are there, I think I'll go to the pub. So she walks out of work. She didn't bring a jacket, it was warm that morning. It is a little cool though. She says, you know, I've been thinking of buying a new jacket. Maybe I should stop and buy a new jacket before I go anywhere else. She goes to the store she likes to go to and she walks in. As soon as she walks in, she walks to the sensor of the door, the RFID tags in her purse, on her cell phone, on her clothes, her glasses, whatever else has an RFID tag, has given us a picture of that customer. Now, the sales representative at that store is brand new, just started, doesn't know Miranda from anybody. But they don't approach Miranda. No, that would just be impolite, that would be pushy. What they do is they check on their online database, because Miranda's a regular customer. They check what they've sold her previously, so they don't try to sell the same thing again. They're going to ask her if she liked what she bought last time. And then, and only then, will they say, so Miranda, what are you looking for today? Well, she's looking for a coat. Salesperson calls her out, gives her the coat. She pays in a cashless system using three-factor authentication. Three-factor authentication is a way to make sure you are who you say you are, probably a password, possibly a digital image, and a signature or a chip. 3 factors to make sure she is who she says she is, and she walks out with a coat. Quite nice. She carries on to the restaurant. Now, I think in the future everybody's going to be wearing glasses of some sort, because I think you'll be able to have online displays and you'll be able to look at things and go, oh, yeah, this is nice, this is cool. It won't necessarily be tied to your cell phone. Part of the future, I think, is also going to be is we're going to have intelligent fabrics. We're going to have smart clothes. Okay, this is something the military's been working on for years, is like smart armor, so you can have a status display and all this stuff. You don't have to carry it. But I think we may get there, depending on some futuristic stuff with composites. But she gets to the pub. Again, she walks in. Personal area network, uploads or downloads data as she needs it. RFID tags are read. Now, restaurants, at this point in the future, have looked at all the trends about allergies, food choices, calorie intake, dietary laws, all this stuff. And they've realized it's become almost unmanageable. So you will voluntarily sign up for a database. You will say, I'm going to go to this website, and I'm going to put in all my meal choices. I have, for religious reasons, I don't eat fish, I'm allergic to peanuts, and I don't want to eat more than 2,000 calories a meal. Or if you're eating, maybe 3. And you're going to put this down. Restaurants, you're not going to pay for this as a customer. Restaurants are going to pay for the service, and it's going to be part of their advertising. And you're going to walk into the restaurant, and when you're ready to order, you'll go, I'm ready to order, and you're going to get a personalized menu, taking away all the choices you didn't want. So if you're allergic to peanuts, nothing on that menu is going to have peanuts on it, guaranteed. If you don't eat fish, there will be no fish on that menu. If your preference is towards tofu, that's there too. All you'll get is what you asked for. And part of this future, the social, is that it's going to become personal. And for the person that had such terribly strict dietary choices that they couldn't possibly ever go out to eat, this is also going to be an advantage, because then the head chef gets to walk out and say, okay, what can we do for you, really? And that's personalized. And the whole issue is, with this data mining, you can personalize things, and this is part of the future. And it's not the personalization of the old days where you got the form letter and your name was printed differently. It's the personalization of granular data. And this is where the analytics are going. These devices, I think, have pretty much peaked. They're not going to get that much different unless we get the eyeglass display. But that's just me hoping. Now, part of the analytics is you're out with your friends. Well, they're also going to be analyzing who you're out with, who's your crowd. Is there a possibility of saying, you know, we notice you guys get together every Friday night and you play pool? Well, maybe we can make a combo deal. If you come to our place with pool tables, we'll give you a deal. And again, the analytics, the back end of the technology, is where a lot of the work's going to happen, and you can personalize your requests. Now, the ones that are most effective are going to be the ones that discriminate between a friendly suggestion and invasion of privacy. I do think there's going to be less privacy in the future. People are already getting there now, and they're going, yeah, interrupt me anytime. You can look at my Facebook status. I'm going to look for a job. I expect you to search for me on the internet. Which does cause a bit of a dichotomy, because certain people are more IT savvy than others and know how to hide on the internet and put up a fake profile. Not that I do that. But another issue that I haven't quite covered is that I believe the more we progress, everybody's going to be producing content. It's one of the trends in the world. I mean, Facebook, since we've talked about it already, its model is that the customers produce the content. Facebook doesn't produce any content. It's all the people you visit, because he always says the craziest stuff. I want to be his friend. You're boring me, I'm going to take you away. With everybody producing content, it's harder to pick an audience. I mean, even I produce content. I have a friend I produce a podcast with. You wouldn't be that fascinated in it, but it's what we do. Everybody's producing content. So trying to focus your message on social media, online, is actually going to get more difficult rather than easier. Yes, there's always going to be something that's a hit and something that's on top, but how many things are underneath? How many things are on the bottom? So to sum up my point is, because the future has become personalized, invasive, it's going to have to be carefully measured. on how you use these tools. A badly used tool will just actually put off customers. You know, the phone, these robocalls, they always call me at supper. It drives me nuts. Well, it'll be the same thing if, you know, this buzzes always at supper or an intimate moment or when I'm asleep. Or that the message is completely inappropriate for me, it'll actually push me away rather than pull me forward. Any questions?
Have we just given up on privacy? Just saying that there's, you know, because I think we can all see that what little privacy we still may have, we're going to be losing in the future with technology. And have we just said, oh well, nothing we can do about it?
I think there's two answers to that question. There's the big picture answer, and the former member of the military and the communications business. Yes, you've given up on privacy. You're easily tracked by credit card numbers, by use of mass media, from the telephone, from the cellular telephone, the regular telephone, to things you post online, to data gathering, email. You can't hide if somebody wants to find you. And I'm not trying to make you paranoid now. Please don't take it that way. It's just the way it works. But on a personal level, no, I don't think we've given up on privacy. You don't need one of these. You can easily not have internet in the home, or at least have internet in a way that's very safe. Turn off the Wi-Fi, only turn it on when you want it on. We're not giving up on privacy. I think, in a sense, this giving up on privacy is more of a psychological than a technological issue, in that we're giving up boundaries because we're accepting that those boundaries are invaded. So I don't think we've given up on privacy. Technology-wise, we've never had it. We talk about the history of cryptography. They had the black chambers in Ye Old Mary, England, which is why Mary Stuart lost her head, because they were reading her mail. That's why she was tried for treason. So that has always been around. Bill, you have a question?
What I was going to say is that I think that the different generations are viewing that whole privacy piece differently. There was a discussion between my 20-year-old daughter and my wife just this morning about that, and the two of them look at what privacy is a whole lot differently. There's things that my daughter just takes for granted because she's grown up sort of in the Facebook world that my wife is uncomfortable with. So I think as we move forward, that view of what privacy is is going to change too by the dominant part of the population.
In a sense, we ask for our privacy to be invaded. I mean, this is what loyalty programs are about. When you have that Air Miles card, you're saying, oh no, I'll tell you everything I buy. Just give me something in exchange. We have tons of time. I'm happy to talk technology. If there's something I didn't cover and you want to talk about, I'm open to questions. Sir?
Can't you see identity theft just exploding with that technology?
Yes. Yes, I can. There are measures, there are countermeasures to identity theft, but they all require actually being used. How many people check their credit once a year? Twice a year? Every 2 years? Every 3? Right? That's the measure against identity theft. Check your credit, see what's happening. Will it explode? Most likely, yes. Are there ways around it? I talked about 3-factor authentication. We can go 4-factor. We can go to genetic authentication, which would actually, it's feasible. It's not that far in the future. A drop of blood, DNA, we know who you are. Now, yes, if somebody took my finger and, then we're getting creepy. For every countermeasure, there's another measure. This is the intelligence war that's been going on for decades with militaries and private lives. Ma'am?
I was just going to say that in your version of the future, you're expecting analytics to get more accurate, because you were just commenting about your Facebook and how none of those ads really appeal to you.
I expect them to become more accurate in the sense, well, they'll only become more accurate if there's the will to do it. There was a recent paper written on Google where people said Google searches are anonymous, and Google's been happy to share their data with researchers, and so we'll give us a year's worth of data. We want to look at a year's worth of searches. Oh, but we have to anonymize it. You're not going to be able to tell who was what. No, that's fine. They traced bunch of searches down and said, okay, you searched for this on this date, didn't you? People went, yeah. You searched for it? Yeah. And they traced it down. It is possible to take information out of masses of data. People don't realize it's so easy. All of your searches, Google keeps a record of them. This is why you get advertising sculpted to you on Google. And other sites, Bing too, Bing. Bing's Yes, ma'am.
Can you comment on the future of technology? So in 5 years, or 10 years, which technology will become dominating, which technology will become obsolete?
Ooh, which will be obsolete?
BlackBerry.
See, I'm not trying to be platform specific. That's hard to say. A lot of IP version 4, I mean, part of what I said is old technologies don't become replaced. We're saying IP version 4 is going to be replaced by IP version 6. Yes, it will. But I don't think IP version 4 is going to disappear. We have a lot of hardware designed for it, a lot of applications designed for it. The thing is, with IP version 4, and this is getting very, very technical, IP version 4 doesn't have a lot of data. You could be very anonymous using IP version 4, and it's not very good, easy to sculpt things. IP version 6, we can sculpt things to your needs. We can know that you're using an iPad because the MAC addresses are that specific, that we'll know which brand of computer you're using, sculpt the traffic to your needs. We can realize who you are because you registered that iPad in your name. And these are features people are going to want. Again, you're giving up privacy because they're features you want. So any technologies that are dying, I mean, Flash, I think, is on its last legs. They've come up with a new version. I think Flash is going to have problems just because of the way. I mean, this is partially the cloud computing idea, right? Right now you do a lot of computing on this device. If we go to true cloud computing, this is going to become a dumb terminal, which actually protects you from identity theft. From identity theft in some ways, because this won't hold any information. All your information will be held on the cloud, which makes it easier for governments and espionage to access. But if you lose your phone, nobody else can get it. So I think if I had to pick one technology that was going to die, you know, I think that's too hard a question. I can't. Sorry. Just because history has proved us wrong so many times, this technology is not going to make it. Years later, people are still using it. And people still use beta tapes, believe it or not. They still exist. That's it. Thank you.